Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Hawks Latest, your number one source for news, updates, rumors, opinions, and you guessed it, the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. I'm your host, Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL, and today we've got a packed show. So, the NBA Cup schedule for Atlanta is officially out. The full regular season schedule actually drops later today at 3 p.m. Eastern, and at the time of this recording, all we know is the NBA Cup schedule and also that the Hawks are playing on MLK Day. We're also going to break down why the Hawks-Pelicans draft night deal just keeps looking better by the day. We're going to give you the latest on Trae Young's relationship with head coach Quinn Snyder. The bond that they've developed in just the few seasons that Quinn has been Atlanta's head coach, and how they can continue to grow on that as Atlanta strives for contention as early as next season. And then I'm going to wrap things up with a prediction for opening night. Definitely something to keep an eye on as the schedule comes out later today. Hopefully by the time this is uploaded, the opening night is not leaked, because then that would totally wipe out the purpose for the final aspect of this video. But nonetheless, let's get right into it and talk about how the Hawks know now exactly what their path is going to look like in this year's NBA Cup group stage. Atlanta is in East Group A, which we have covered before, but they will play 4 games just like every other team will during group play. It's spread out evenly throughout the regular season. So October 31st, they're going to take on the Indiana Pacers in Indiana. And on November 7th, they're going to be back at home playing the Toronto Raptors. On November 25th, they're back on the road against the Washington Wizards. And then November 28th at home, they are going to be playing the Cleveland Cavaliers. So 2 home games, 2 away games. This is a very fair schedule for the NBA Cup group play. I mean, this looks very fair for Atlanta. I really could see them going 4-0. I do not mind this schedule at all, especially considering who they had to go through last year. I mean, looking at this draw, it's a very winnable group, and it really might come down to that Black Friday matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers to decide who advances. And as we all know, the Hawks play the Cavaliers extremely well in the regular season for whatever reason. The Pacers are obviously going to be without Tyrese Halliburton and now Miles Turner, since he just signed with the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, he didn't just sign with them. He signed with them a few weeks ago, but still, it's new, it's fresh. It's a big blow to their competitiveness. I mean, they were just in the NBA Finals, and they probably aren't even going to make the playoffs this upcoming season due to just the complete changes that have been made to their team. I mean, Toronto and Washington, meanwhile, aren't really threats, especially not Washington. They're projected to be among the worst teams in the entire NBA, although Toronto, to be fair, still does have enough talent, young talent, that being said, to hang around the edge of the playoff race. So definitely don't sleep on them. I don't really love how the Hawks match up against the Raptors, just thinking about those matchups this season. And the Raptors also could be one of the opening night opponents for the Hawks. They're still their opening night game hasn't been leaked. So, I mean, this is a far different situation from last year, though. When the Hawks were heavy underdogs in their NBA Cup group last year, they still came out with that victory. They won their group, and then they ended up going to the NBA Cup semifinals. They did advance to that knockout stage where, they stunned the Knicks in Madison Square Garden once again, and then they ended up falling to the eventual champion, the Milwaukee Bucks, in the semifinals in Las Vegas. But nonetheless, it was a very valuable experience for the guys. And we really just want to know, can the Hawks repeat that success this season? I think they absolutely can, especially with the easier schedule this year and the roster that they've built in the offseason. I mean, after acquiring Kristaps Porzingis and drafting Asa Newell, and then the Hawks, adding the free agent signings and at the start of free agency, like Nickeil Alexander-Walker from Minnesota on a 4-year, $62 million sign-and-trade deal, and also Luke Kennard on a 1-year, $11 million contract. I mean, Atlanta's going to be one of the best teams in the East, and they certainly should be among the top in their group. It's just going to really be between them and Cleveland, but don't sleep on the Raptors at all. On top of all that, I mean, they landed that unprotected first-round pick from the Pelicans in that draft night trade, bringing Asa Newell to Atlanta, and we're also about to talk about that a little more because there's been some developments on that front. But I mean, given the injury situations around the East and the fact that Atlanta is loading up with depth and shooting and don't appear to be finished really in the offseason, the Hawks have positioned themselves to not just compete for an NBA Cup semifinal spot, but to be one of the top teams in the conference alongside Cleveland, New York, and maybe Orlando. And remember, the rest of the schedule will be released today at 3 p.m. Eastern, so we're definitely going to keep you guys updated on that on this channel, and we're certainly going to be breaking that all down next episode. But now we're going to move on to a different topic, and it's kind of speaking of that draft night trade with New Orleans. It looked good the moment it happened. It certainly did, but it is aging like fine wine. It's been almost 2 months since the 2025 NBA draft. That's pretty crazy, and there's still no logical reason for the Pelicans to have, given the Hawks an unprotected 2026 first-round pick just to move up 10 spots to take Derek Queen at 13. It makes sense at the time. It still doesn't make sense now. I don't want to base too much off of Summer League. Hawks fans have seen firsthand why you shouldn't do that, but Queen certainly struggled in Summer League. Derek Queen isn't a prospect that I ever really loved in general. I think New Orleans made a mistake, even having their eyes on him like set to be that. They would have picked him at 8 if they could, but they ended up taking Jeremiah Fears, and Derek Queen was still on the board. I don't really love Queen as a prospect, especially in New Orleans, but he did struggle in Summer League. Kind of adding to that. He showed some flashes, but I just really don't like his defensive tape. He could be a decent offensive player at some point during his NBA career, but I don't like it, especially for New Orleans. But after his Summer League struggles, he actually had a wrist injury. He had to undergo surgery in mid-July. He's going to be reevaluated in 12 weeks, which means he could miss the start of the regular season, and I'm sure he will. New Orleans is a franchise that Dyson Daniels said was cursed, and really it's coming with a lot of merit because this organization really might be cursed. Their injury luck is absolutely ridiculous, and I really do feel for their fans. The Hawks used the pick that they got from the Pelicans, obviously, to select Asa Newell at number 23, and he had a very solid Summer League showing, kind of showcasing exactly what Hawks fans wanted to see. And maybe that added to the sting a little bit for New Orleans. Now, it is still early. We cannot call Derek Queen a bust or Asa Newell a hit. But it's not too soon to say the Hawks clearly won this trade, even if only because of that 2026 first-round pick, which is unprotected, which could result in A.J. Debinsa, Darren Peterson, or Cam Boozer. Those are the top 3 prospects next year, and New Orleans could be bad enough to where Atlanta is bringing in a top 3 pick next year because of them really wanting Derek Queen out of Maryland. How weird that may sound. I mean, for Atlanta, this trade was the start, I guess, of what's been an excellent offseason. I mean, adding players that fit perfectly alongside Trae Young and the rest of the young core, and then building a roster ready to win now. They've had a very strong balance between all of that, and I'm really excited to get things started. And with the schedule release coming later today and all these other things happening in the offseason, we almost made it out of the driest part of the offseason. So from here on out, it's going to be super entertaining, a lot of news to cover. But yeah, I mean, for New Orleans, it's not a great situation. They came away with that draft with 2 lottery picks, like we said, Fears and Queen. But the weird thing is they're kind of in a win now mode. I mean, losing Queen for the start of the year isn't a great sign, and he wasn't really going to play a lot of minutes, I guess, right off the bat. I wouldn't think, at least, but I mean, they've had consistent injury issues, most notably to Zion Williamson, who has been very injury prone over the course of his career. But DeJounte Murray, the point guard they acquired from the Hawks in exchange for Dyson Daniels, which was another absolute fleece from the Atlanta's front office. DeJounte is still recovering from his torn Achilles, so he's probably going to miss the start of the regular season and a little bit into that. But they've got a very injury-riddled team, and it's definitely not looking too bright over there. There's a good chance that Atlanta is going to end up with a pretty good pick from them. So it was just a case of Atlanta taking advantage of another team's questionable decision-making, and so far it's paying off, but we're going to kind of track it as we go on and see how this take really ages. So now we're going to move on to something that Jake Fisher, NBA Insider, reported. He provided an update on the extension talks between Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks. Definitely a very big storyline, certainly the biggest one of the offseason right now. While there's still uncertainty about when or if a new deal will be signed, there's certainly a lot of conflicting reports right now at that, but all seem to are kind of dialing in on the fact that an extension won't happen. There is one factor that's giving Atlanta confidence, not just to get an extension done now, but maybe next offseason. Trae Young's very strong relationship with head coach Quinn Snyder. According to Jake Fisher, the two have built real synergy. And this comes as no surprise. We've seen it firsthand. Snyder has praised Young for his growth as a leader, something that everyone has been able to see, and for putting in more effort on the defensive end. I mean, Trae plays super hard especially after Quinn came over and took over for Nate McMillan. I mean, Trae has publicly supported Snyder since the day he arrived. I mean, he even poked fun at Knicks fans online, which is something he loves to do just in general. But when New York, their front office had actually asked the Hawks front office permission to speak with Quinn Snyder, and the Hawks very quickly declined. Trae responded to that tweet from Shams Charania reporting it, and he said, "Hell nah." This is something that we just love to see. But Trae and Quinn have a very strong relationship. I mean, having your star player and your head coach completely in sync is a huge advantage. Seriously, especially when you're trying to build a championship contender, and that's what the Atlanta Hawks are doing. They want to contend for a championship as early as next season, and having that chemistry between between your coach and your star player, especially when you've got all these new pieces coming in, is certainly the most important thing you could have. This relationship could be one of the keys to keeping Trae in Atlanta long term, and it's why I think over the next year an extension will get done. I don't think we really have to worry about Trae going elsewhere, especially if we're good next season, which we really should be. If we're not good next season, then maybe Atlanta needs to consider moving on. So now, moving on, we're going to wrap up with some opening night speculation. So at the time of this recording, like I've said, we do not know who the Atlanta Hawks are going to play opening night. We just know the NBA Cup, and we know that we have an MLK Day game against the Milwaukee Bucks. But at the time of this recording, there are 11 possible opponents for the Hawks' first game of the 2025-26 season. The rest have been leaked, and it's obviously not playing the Hawks. So here are those potential opponents: the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Detroit Pistons, Philadelphia 76ers, the New Orleans Pelicans, who we just talked about, the Toronto Raptors, the Miami Heat, and the Charlotte Hornets, the Brooklyn Nets, the Chicago Bulls, and the Washington Wizards. My guess is that it comes down between the last four that I mentioned. I think it'll be the Nets, Bulls, Hornets, or Wizards. Certainly not very exciting, but last year the Hawks did open against Brooklyn, and that game was pretty exciting. It was a lot of fun. I wouldn't be shocked if the league decides to run that back. It would be pretty easy for them, but also it would give Atlanta a good chance to start the season 1-0 against Michael Porter Jr., Trae's best friend, and the Nets. It certainly would be a good matchup for Atlanta, but the game was entertaining. It was a close one last season, but I could also see Atlanta potentially opening against the Pelicans. They weren't one of the last four teams, but we just talked about them. There's a lot of storylines connecting Atlanta and New Orleans. Maybe this would be a pretty fun opening night matchup. I mean, with the recent draft night trade still fresh, and then the unprotected pick storyline, and then also the DeJounte Murray, Dyson Daniels storyline, even though Murray's not going to be healthy, Dyson Daniels against his former team that gave up on him is pretty entertaining. And I think the NBA would love for that to be an opening night matchup. It's a built-in narrative that the NBA might want to highlight. So we're going to know for sure when the full schedule drops at 3 p.m. Eastern, so stay tuned to Hawks Latest. When it does, when that news breaks, when the news comes out, we certainly will have a video to you guys, and we're going to break it down all right here on Hawks Latest. So that's going to do it for today's episode. The NBA Cup schedule is set. The Pelicans trade looks better every day. Trae and Quinn's relationship is strong and something to build on for the future. And opening night could give us some fireworks. Maybe the Hawks start 1-0 and get blessed with a good opponent, or a not so good opponent, to start the season 1-0. Anyways, I'm Zach Langley, aka Langley ATL. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single update. We're going to be pumping out videos every single day, keeping you guys informed on the latest and the greatest regarding the Atlanta Hawks. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.